As government prepares to roll out the revised primary school curriculum, education experts are calling for adequate school facilities, well-trained teachers, and thorough preparation to prevent a repeat of the challenges experienced during the implementation of the competence-based curriculum at ordinary level. Tonight we ask, how can government successfully implement the revised primary school curriculum while avoiding past mistakes? We bring you details to this report, and we have so much more lined up for you tonight. But first, let's take a look at the headlines.
NTV Tonight, brought to you by DFCU, going further together.
Tonight, she called her auntie, come and rescue us. Mommy is trying to kill us.
Police are investigating possible domestic misunderstandings as a factor that may have preceded the tragedy in Bunga Gaba that left 2 children dead and others hospitalized. A man is nursing burn injuries after he was allegedly attacked by his lover, who poured on him hot water during a domestic dispute. Also on NTV Tonight, police have failed to explain why they prefer charges against individuals who miraculously ended up at their stations after going missing.
You know, sometimes it's very difficult to explain here.
And
you cannot begin serving food on the table and then you begin now teaching someone how to cook it.
Education experts have urged government to improve school facilities and prioritize teacher training before rolling out the reforms.
DFCU, going further together.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on NTV Tonight. I'm Betty Mudondo, together with Susan Mujawa and Nanda on sign language. We start off with the education sector. As government moves to introduce the new curriculum reforms at different levels of education, sector experts have urged government to improve school facilities and prioritize teacher training before rolling out the reforms. They also warn that this will help government avoid repeating mistakes made during the implementation of the competence-based curriculum at ordinary level. This comes as government prepares to roll out the revised primary school curriculum. The remarks were made during the second international conference on curriculum development. Norbert Atkunda starts us off this evening.
In 2020, government introduced the new competence-based curriculum for lower secondary education, an initiative that was welcomed by many stakeholders in the education sector and members of the public. However, the implementation of the curriculum faced several challenges, including inadequate preparation of some teachers and delays in the delivery of learning materials. Some teachers admitted that they were not adequately prepared on how to teach using the new competence-based curriculum. Now, as government moves towards introducing curriculum reforms at different levels, including primary schools and universities, education experts are calling for better preparation and involvement of all stakeholders.
Curriculum is not a problem, it is how we implement it, the teaching materials, the facilities, and what those students who go through our curriculum would experience in their fields of work.
People gather in church and they say they have become born again. I think you need to be very conscious to say, do really people think that they have become born again? This is the issue we're facing with the challenge of the curriculum. Most people may say the curriculum is okay, but it is the process which we need to look at now.
Many agree that curriculum changes are necessary, but they say teachers must be adequately trained and supported to ensure that the curriculum can effectively be translated into classroom teaching.
If we again began on the wrong side, we should have begun by training the teachers how to implement this curriculum. But we began with the curriculum, and now we are training the teachers after we have implemented the curriculum. You cannot begin serving food on the table and then you begin now teaching someone how to cook it. That's where the problem will come in later on with our curriculum.
Professor Benson Banda, director at the Directorate of National Science Center in Zambia, says as curriculum reforms are implemented, educators should also be creative and use locally available resources as teaching tools to help learners acquire practical knowledge.
Every time I come here, most of the times I see Uganda to be bright. If you check out there, there's yellow, there's green, there's purple, there's blue. But when we go to class, people tell you, I don't have materials to teach colors. Meanwhile, the environment has all the colors you require. So we can teach the children by enjoying the environment and appreciating the environment and use the environment for sustainability.
The National Curriculum Development Center says capacity building is a continuous process. According to the center, whenever a new curriculum is developed, teachers are oriented on how to implement it.
We must appreciate we have a very huge population of teachers, and sometimes we have a constraint that because of national needs and national priorities, the curriculum must be rolled out. So you may not be able to train everybody at a go before you roll out.
A number of stakeholders say reforms should focus on preparing learners for the future and equipping them with the skills that will benefit future generations.
Our education does not speak to the future. I remember when we got oil, is when we remember to teach oil. You get it? Now, people are learning oil, and by the time they finish, the oil will be finished.
Meanwhile, government is set to roll out the revised primary school curriculum, with one of its key objectives being to reduce the workload for primary school learners. Emphasis will also be placed on life skills and talent development.
It is too much for our children. Children carry heavy bags. Children report to school at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, and they leave at 5, 6, 7 and beyond in the evening. So the load is too heavy. So one of the principles and what we expect is a curricula which is lighter.
Under the revised primary school curriculum, some subjects will be introduced while others will be dropped. According to UNICEF, innovation in education must also be inclusive, ensuring that all learners have access to quality learning opportunities. Nobat Atkunda, NTV News.
Now, that story informs our opinion poll question tonight, and it's all over our social media platforms. Be part of that conversation and tell us how government can successfully implement these new reforms. NTV Tonight continues, and police are investigating a gruesome family murder in Gaba, where a mother allegedly stabbed her 5 children before injuring herself in what is suspected to have been an attempted suicide. 2 of the children, aged 14 and 7, died from their injuries, while the other 3 children and their mother remain hospitalized. David Ijo was in Gaba to follow up on the incident, and he brings us this report tonight.
A quiet dawn in Kalungu village, Bunga Gaba, was shattered by a fire and a gruesome stabbing incident that has left a family devastated. A mother, identified as Dorothy Namayo, a Kenyan national, is alleged to have stabbed her 5 children inside their home. NTV arrived at the scene at about 9:30 a.m. and found the residence cordoned off by police, with a crowd of curious onlookers gathered outside. This residence in my background, located in Kalungu village, Bunga, Gaba, is the scene where an incident of stabbing is said to have happened at dawn, about 5:30 in the morning, in which 5 children were stabbed by their mother. Moments later, a police truck entered the compound, and after what appeared to be a clearance of the scene, drove out carrying what seemed to be the remains of one of the children who had succumbed to the injuries. According to eyewitness accounts, the incident began at around 5 a.m. when the family's house help, who was sleeping in the boys' quarters, noticed the smell of smoke. When she stepped outside, she reportedly discovered that a Toyota Hiace, commonly known as a drone, was on fire.
I came to the scene, I found there was someone crying, and I went back on the main road because I was calling the fire brigade. The fire came very fast. Even they find just the car. The house was starting burning, but the car.
She attempted to access the main house to establish what was happening but could not get inside. It was then that she noticed one of the children through a nearby window visibly bleeding. The house help immediately raised the alarm, attracting neighbors who rushed to the residence as police were called in.
And one child was standing in the window. So she called her auntie, come and rescue us. Mommy is trying to kill us. So come and rescue us, please. The maid tried. She was so scared. She came at the gate, like trying to call the neighbors, but the gate was closed. The woman changed the padlocks. She changed the padlock, so the girl had no way of rescuing them. Even getting a copy of the key to the main house, she found that the woman had changed everything. She had no way of helping them out.
The burning vehicle was eventually extinguished while rescuers forced their way into the main house. Inside, they reportedly found blood in different parts of the house and several of the children with serious injuries. Of the 5 children allegedly attacked, 2 died. They include 14-year-old Hadija Daisy, the firstborn child, and 7-year-old Halina Dawa.
Told the boys to climb up the gate and enter inside so that they can help the children. But when they entered, they found already the big girl died, already cut it in the neck. And the other one from the stomach, the intestines was outside.
The other 3 children sustained injuries and were taken to Mulago Hospital for medical attention. Namayo, who is also said to have injured herself in what investigators suspect was an attempted suicide after the alleged attack on her children, was also taken to the hospital.
The other girls, even the stomach, and the mother also injured from the stomach.
The motive behind the incident remains unclear. However, police are investigating possible domestic misunderstandings as a factor that may have preceded the tragedy.
The allegation is there has been a domestic issue, domestic misunderstanding in this family between the husband and the wife. And it has been on for some time. It's very unfortunate that it is alleged that the woman decided to just wake up one morning and do this to the children and also try to commit suicide in the process.
NTV spoke to the family's house help in an effort to establish what may have happened in the hours leading to the incident. Her account suggests that the household had experienced a quarrel the previous day involving Namayo and her husband, Edris Traore, a Malian national.
I've tried to talk with the housemaid, and she told me that she has stayed with them for 3 years, and she has never seen them with issues in the house. Not until this same year, 2026, in June, when she came to know that a man got another wife somewhere else. So that's when they started having some misunderstandings. So they've been having some small misunderstandings in the house, but she has never seen them like fighting in the house.
However, at the time the fire broke out and the children were allegedly stabbed, Traore was reportedly away from home. As investigations continue, many questions remain unanswered about what transpired inside the home in those early morning hours. What began as an ordinary dawn in this Kampala suburb ended with 2 children dead, 3 others injured, and a mother hospitalized, leaving a community struggling to comprehend the tragedy that unfolded behind the closed doors of a family home. This is not the first time a tragic incident involving stabbing of children is happening this year. It should be remembered that 3 months ago, a one Christopher Okello Onyum stabbed and killed 4 infants at a daycare school just a few meters away from this vicinity we are in. As of now, the police is still inside establishing more details into what transpired, and report will be released soon or later as we follow more of these events. David Ijo, NTV.
In yet another unfortunate report, a 34-year-old man in Injero Municipality, Wike District, is nursing burn injuries after allegedly being attacked by his wife during a domestic dispute. Williams Kato alleges that his wife poured hot water on his chest and repeatedly hit him during a confrontation at their home last Wednesday.
Williams Kato is nursing burns with much of the skin on his upper body peeled off, leaving reddish pink areas exposed. He alleges that the injuries were caused by his wife during a confrontation at their home last Wednesday. According to Kato, the dispute started after he returned home at about 10 p.m. from the bar where he works as a director, while his wife is the manager. Earlier that day, one of the workers at the bar had reportedly told him that his wife was allegedly involved in a relationship with one of their clients. Kato says he confronted his wife about the allegations when he returned home, leading to a heated verbal exchange that later turned physical.
And so on. Stura onatani kokunkuba ngaina manyaga kunkubira ddala.
Kato says he then moved to the children's bedroom, hoping the situation would calm down. However, he says that while in the room, he overheard his wife asking their son to prepare hot water. At this point, he had no idea the water was being prepared to attack him until his wife powered it on him when he opened the door.
I was opening the door ngula olunjaga kuvaawo n'etaasa ngende ebweru. Omukyala n'anjuwira amazzi. N'agamba fa.
He had earlier called two workers from the bar to come and rescue him as the situation escalated. According to Kato, this was not the first disagreement between them.
We have almost like 4 cases being taken to Njeru police station. I wonder the police station of these days, a person comes and reports a case to a police station, then money comes and does work. And this is what is happening right now. The man, we arrested the woman, took to the police station. The relatives of the woman come to the police station, collaborate with the Uganda police officers.
Yes, it's true. One Komkisha Winnie Nabawesa was arrested on charges of grievous harm, which he put against her husband. Police did investigations, and immediately, she was taken to court. And as I speak now, she is in Bugungu prisons.
According to Uganda police report, 12,361 people were recorded as victims of domestic violence in 2025. Of these, 4,116 were adult men, while 7,520 were adult women.
We now head over to Parliament. The Deputy Inspector General of Police, James Ochaya, says persons previously reported as disappeared have oftenly miraculously ended up before the police, raising questions about what happens to them during the period they are missing. Appearing before members of Parliament, Ochaya said police have struggled to explain why some of these individuals later face charges, while others return with injuries allegedly caused by torture, leaving them unable to immediately record statements. Jackson Onyango was at Parliament and he reports.
The police chiefs appeared in Parliament to respond to audit queries captured in the Auditor General's report for the financial year 2024-25.
My queries are...
It presented the members of the Public Accounts Committee the opportunity to raise concerns on the state of human rights directly touching on the police force. At the forefront was the concern about the persistent denials about the whereabouts of the disappeared members of the public, but they have later emerged from the police facilities.
We've had cases of torture, cases of missing persons, and some are still missing. Do you follow up on where these people were before them appearing or before you taking them to the courts of law?
Despite the gravity of the concern, the response of the Deputy Inspector General of Police, James Ochaya, left the members in stitches.
Yeah, we are also of his opinion that miraculously they appear. So when they appear, we try to make a follow-up.
Ochaya testified that some of the victims sometimes have torture injuries. He added that in some of the circumstances, the condition of the victims has prevented them from obtaining statements from the individuals.
The person may not even talk because he has been tortured, maybe. So you first need for him to recover and then you interrogate so that he gives you a bit of a lead. That's how it happens.
Then the next question was on why and how the police have continued with cases against the individuals.
Who prefers cases before them? When they miraculously appear at police stations, when you go to court, who prefers cases against such?
And the response?
For us, we propose. Then the DPP confirms.
It has been this person has miraculously appeared. Now, instead of letting him go home or take him to his home, you prefer cases against that person in courts of law.
Sometimes it's very difficult to explain here.
It's understandable. It's understandable, Fund. It's very difficult to explain.
Ochaya distanced the police from the concerns that it was responsible for the overcrowding in the prisons. Members of the committee had pointed at the police for conducting random arrests before investigations, leaving the cases in the pipeline for long. They blamed the other institutions responsible for the dispensation of justice for being slow in their processes, stating, for instance, that while the force has implemented the sub-county policing model, it is not the case with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Jackson Onyango, reporting for NTV at Parliament.
Thanks, Jackson Onyango, for that report. NTV Tonight takes a very short break. On your return, we bring you more stories making headlines across the country, and here's still to come. Still to come. Kenyan-based side airline Jambo Jet has announced its return to the Ugandan market nearly 6 years after suspending its operations in the country.
We're also promising affordability.
And Namwongo Blazers produced a commanding 82-64 points victory over City Oilers in Game 6 of the National Basketball League Playoffs final to force the encounter into the decisive Game 7.
We shared the ball more. We looked out for each other more.
Hello, Mr. Mukasa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, sir. Are you the broker?
The original one.
I was told you have very good rentals.
Hey, that is right. How many bedrooms do you want?
I want 3 bedrooms.
Okay, did I tell you of the price?
Yes, of course. 500,000.
No. This side, the salary went a bit high.
Why?
Because the paint we use is of good quality. So the place gained the value.
Which paint?
Global paint.
How?
For the ceiling, for us we use Global Mat. And for the inside walls, we use Global Silk Vinyl.
Okay, tell me about the outside walls.
Outside we use Global Weather Coat Emulsion so that the walls don't peel.
Hey. I'm really impressed. The precision you put while painting, I'm willing to pay any amount.
That is true, because here for us quality is paramount and the place becomes umite.
Global Paint, a reliable product.
Running a successful enterprise requires the right know-how, and information is power. The right connections make all the difference. Dive into Uganda's business world, discussing the whys, the why-nots, and how to unlock opportunities. From startups to agribusiness to fintechs and more, we find answers to questions to help you make the right decisions. Join me, Samuel Katumba, on The Link, your bridge to insight, opportunity, and transformation, only on NTV Uganda. Don't miss the connection.
Welcome back from that break. You're still watching NTV Tonight. After 47 years of service in the security forces, General Edward Katumba Wamala has bowed out of active military service, closing a remarkable chapter that took him from a young soldier to some of the most powerful positions in Uganda's security establishment. His journey has spanned some of the country's most defining moments, taking him through the ranks to become Army Land Forces Commander, Chief of Defense Forces, Inspector General of Police, and later a cabinet minister. At a retirement ceremony held today at State House, Entebbe, President Yoweri Museveni commended General Katumba and other retiring generals for their service to the country. But behind the medals, titles, and decades of duty lies a deeply personal story, one of ambition, sacrifice, loss, and unenduring commitment to Uganda. Jerome Paul Sonko has this profile.
Uganda is not going to end on the 18th of February. And therefore, if you go and do cast your vote, which you must do, all of you, if the results are not in your favor, you have no right to destabilize the country.
Edward Katumba Wamala was born on 19th November 1956 in Bweza, in Kalangala District, Sese Islands. Far from the corridors of power, he grew up in a family whose roots were connected to the lake, trade, and rural life.
General Katumba Wamala is a very simple person, from a very humble family, a fisherman's family, from Kalangala.
In an interview published by the Daily Monitor, Katumba recalled his childhood in Kalangala and described the influence of his father and family on the man he would become. The boy from Bweza would eventually find his way into the military, and the military would become his life's defining institution. Katumba entered Uganda's armed forces during one of the most turbulent periods in the country's history. He served in the Uganda National Liberation Army. Then, in 1986, the political and military order changed dramatically. The National Resistance Army defeated the UNLA. Katumba transitioned into the new military structure, and from there, his career began a remarkable ascent. His education extended beyond Uganda. He trained at military institutions in Tanzania, Nigeria, and the United States, and studied at the United States Army War College. He later earned a bachelor's degree in international relations and diplomacy from Nkumba University and the master's degree in strategic leadership from the United States Army War College. By the turn of the millennium, Katumba was no longer simply an officer rising through the ranks. He was becoming one of Uganda's senior commanders. In 2001, came a significant appointment. Edward Katumba Wamala became Inspector General of Police. He was the first active UPDF officer to serve as head of the Uganda Police Force. For 4 years, he led the country's police force. Then came another transformation. In 2005, he returned to the military and became commander of the UPDF's land forces. He was increasingly associated with Uganda's regional military engagements, including the country's peacekeeping role in Somalia. Then, in May 2013, came one of the highest points of his military career. Katumba was promoted to 4-star general and appointed Chief of Defense Forces. From the lake shores of Kalangala to the highest professional office in Uganda's military, the journey had taken nearly 4 decades.
I've seen this force grow and with under the leadership of General Ronda. So this is a force which is better organized, which is more professional. As you have heard, we have been doing a lot of training and we're going to continue with that. And so I think I'm really kind of having, I wouldn't call it a total soft landing, but I think I'm having a smoother landing than what it was before.
But Katumba's public service did not end with military command. He moved into civilian government, first as Minister of State for Works and later as Minister of Works and Transport. The soldier had become a politician. The commander had become an administrator, and the uniform increasingly gave way to the suit. It was a new kind of command. No battlefield, no parade ground, But still the same fundamental question. How do you serve?
Early today, as General Edward Katumba Wamala was setting off from home, he was attacked by assailants traveling on two borders.
Then, on 1st June 2021, Katumba Wamala's life changed forever. As he traveled from his home in Kampala, armed attackers opened fire on his vehicle. The attack was targeted. Katumba was shot in both shoulders. He survived, but two people traveling with him did not. His daughter, Brenda Wamala Nantongo, and his driver, Haruna Kayondo, were killed. For a man who had spent decades commanding soldiers and confronting danger, this was a different kind of battle. Not one fought on a battlefield, but one fought for survival and for the ability to continue living after an unimaginable loss.
That's going strong. So nothing is disordered, but the bad guys are bad. I'm going to school in the second class. I pray for. Don't worry, I don't have bad injuries, only the arms.
Katumba survived, but survival came with a price that could never be measured in military decorations or official titles, and yet he returned to public life. Uganda police later announced that its investigations had linked suspects to a domestic terror cell and described the attack as political violence and domestic terrorism.
Many members of the public who could be having knowledge surrounding the identity of these assailants to share that information with us.
In 2023, Nkumba University awarded him an honorary Doctor of Letters in recognition of his contribution to his community, country, and humanity. His story had become bigger than the military. It was now a story about endurance, about reinvention, and about continuing to serve after surviving personal tragedy. After approximately 47 years in national military service, General Katumba Wamala is now approaching the end of his military career. But the end of a military career is not necessarily the end of a life in public service. As he moves into another chapter, his legacy will be measured not simply by the positions he held, but by the journey that took him there. For a man who began life on the shores of Lake Victoria, few could have predicted the distance his journey would cover. From Bweza to Bombo, from the police headquarters to the highest levels of military command, from the battlefield to the cabinet, and from an assassination attempt that could have ended his life to a continued role in public service. Edward Katumba Wamala's story is not simply the story of a general, it is the story of a country seen through the life of one of its most enduring public figures, a soldier who became a commander who became a politician, a father who endured devastating loss, and a survivor who continued to serve.
Many times people think when we put on these uniforms that we are strangers or people, we are supposed to behave differently. We can't be different. This is just a mere uniform. Just like the way you put on your clothes. We are the same. The blood flowing in your veins is red and mine is red.
General Edward Katumba Wamala is also a family man. He is married to Christine Katumba, with whom he has 6 children, 5 daughters and 1 son. Unfortunately, their firstborn, Brenda Nantongo Wamala, tragically lost her life during the assassination attempt on her father in June 2021. As the uniform becomes part of his history, he remains active in public service as he was reappointed to the Ugandan cabinet, this time as Minister of Public Service since the 26th of May, 2026. Joram Paul Sonko, NTV.
NTV Tonight continues. The government is moving to tighten enforcement of Fisheries and Aquaculture Act 2023 in a bid to reverse declining fish stocks and curb illegal fishing. The State Minister for Fisheries, Robert Migade, says new regulations and guidelines have been finalized with species-specific licensing and tougher controls on fishing gear among the measures being introduced. The minister says enforcement against illegal fishing gear will also intensify next week. Benjamin Jumbe reports.
For years, Uganda's fishing industry has faced a growing threat from illegal fishing. The rampant use of monofilament nets, harvesting immature fish, excessive use of light and other prohibited methods have contributed to declining fish stocks and reduced productivity. State Minister for Fisheries Robert Migade says the country currently produces about 750 metric tons of fish annually.
The national target is about 1.7 metric tons.